Oh, make sure you have the Lorebeards tag pulled up on Twitter.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think I'm live.
Cool. Give me just a hot sec because I just realized I need to have a couple of random little things pulled over.
It's funny. Getting on live on YouTube seems to be much more complicated than getting live on...
Oh, dude. Like, I don't say it lightly. I hated streaming on YouTube.
So complicated. Okay, so we got everyone there. Hey guys, we're just waiting for Sotek to go live on his platform, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, sorry, I'm dumb. Okay. we're good. Okay. So real quick, you're all good on your end?
Yeah, I'm live.
Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lorebeards. We know it's Wednesday, but it's been really busy for both of us around here a lot lately, and my sleep schedule has been completely annihilated by poor decisions and nerdgasms. So we're doing it this week on Wednesday, but we will be also doing it this upcoming Sunday, unless something else happens. But in any event, hope you're all doing well. Lore Master Soldier here, of course, back with my co-host, Great Book of Grudges, and there's a lot to talk about on today's docket, and we even have a fun new segment we're going to be really excited to show to you guys. But first thing is, of course, first, Nathan, how you doing?
Good, man. Trying to catch up on sleep and get back to a normal schedule after the constant drops and working on a bunch of different projects and so on. How about you?
I am in a similar boat. I've been reading a lot lately. I've been doing a lot of research. For people that are curious what I've been researching, keep an eye on my Twitter page. I've been dropping hints
Catboy
that
lore.
Nathan keeps making into Catboy references, which is it's not what it is, even though, I'm sure in the multiverse that's somewhere in the multiverse it is.
69-hour video of Catboys.
That's getting dangerously heretical. Dangerously heretical. But in any event, things have been good. I got a lot of cleaning done today. Finally, my room was getting to that point where it was like smelling kind of off because Chloe sleeps in there so much and she sheds so much fur that like it's obscene. Like I have to the spots where she likes to lay, I have to vacuum them like 2 or 3 times just to get all the freaking dog fur. But managed to get the room all cleaned up and got reorganized, got all my books back on the bookshelf, at least that I'm not using at this immediate moment, and trying to just get stabilized. But yeah, I'm doing all right, and kind of been just getting things sorted. Got all the pieces of my black coach over here on my painting desk because it blew up. So that's gonna be my next painting project. Is gonna be putting it back together. But it is what it is, and we are hanging in there. Anything you've been up to? You did something cool the other day.
Yeah. So I took part in a collaboration between Creative Assembly, Cubicle 7, and Games Workshop in a new film of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Kind of like a new experience. I got thrown into the production side of things, which was stressy. And for the past 3 weeks, I was constantly bashing my head onto the table, hoping for a swift end. But it ended up going quite well. I think people quite enjoyed that. There were like a few technical issues, but like for some reason the program on their end died, and then it was just a weird thing. But I think it was a great experience. It was lovely meeting Dave from Mini War, lovely guy. Zeke was an incredible role player. Dave was hilarious. Baldy was like top tier as always, Dame did really well. I think it was a nice experience for everyone. a lot of work, a lot of crying on my end in the background, and at least I finally started learning stuff. Like I know how to use a Stream Deck now, man. I used to look at it and go,
I've got one in a box sitting next to me because I'm like, I got one. I need to install. I don't know how to use it, but I need to figure it out. So
it ended up becoming quite a good learning experience. It's something that because I'm a big fan, as you are, of Cubicle 7's writings. They're quite good, and I was like, oh yeah, this will be fun. Obviously, thanks to Creative Assembly and all the companies involved, especially for that Soneshi art that now hangs proudly on my wall. It was a fun experience. I know that I will never be a producer in any way, shape, or form, though.
All right. So, yeah, if y'all haven't, feel free to go check that out. I think it's on Total War's channel and on yours?
No, I didn't upload it to mine yet because it's like a 5-hour thing, and getting it downloaded is taking an age.
Okay,
and then...
I know it's on Total War's channel if y'all want to go see it there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, moving on to the next thing. It's time to get caught up on Tale of Two Gamers.
Yeah.
Where the hell did I... Oh, there we go. So, we've got... Wow, some people slipping in right at the end here. We've got quite a few stuff to go over, so let's not waste any time. Make sure you've got it set to latest. And our first one is from Baron Lloyd, who has just a ton of Nurgle minis. We've got Sloppity Bilepipers, Spoilpox Scrivener, Epidemius in the first picture, and then we've got Nurglings, 60 Plague Bearers, and a Poxbringer. Just all the Nurgly goodness, and it all just looks wet. It just looks wet and slimy. Oh my goodness gracious. That is so much... Man, I'm so excited for Epidemius, dude. I don't know when we're going to get him, but I know we're going to get him. And I'm so excited for Epidemius.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I love the Nurgle aesthetic, you know, it's just so cool.
Do you want the new demons like the Sloppity Bilepiper and the Scrivener? I
think yes, because demons exist throughout. Like reality doesn't exist for them. They if they existed in Age of Sigmar 40k, they kind of existed in Warhammer Fantasy because reality and time and very timey-wimey bullshit. It's possible. I mean, Bilepiper would be a cool legendary hero, wouldn't he?
Well, I think he'd just be a generic hero. He's not a special character. He's just a guy.
True.
He's like it's kind of like a hyped up musician. So he's like a really buff centric character. That's not very good at combat.
I mean, we do definitely need more heroes because right now we only have 2, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it, to be honest.
Definitely.
Another one for Baron Lloyd. Oh, it's a Bellicor with a blood-soaked base.
Nice.
That blood, that jelly turned out really nice. Oh, I love that mini. It's such a damn good, gigantic mini. I don't have anything to add. It's just I just love this mini.
It is so cool. Like, it's a shame that Bellicor doesn't look like this Bellicor, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, like, the differences between them are not huge. Like, the one we got has he doesn't have some of that armor on, like, his leg and shoulder.
Yeah. And
he doesn't have, like, his loincloth thing is not as elaborate.
Yeah.
I don't think he has quite as many, like, hooks and stuff in his wings, and then his face is slightly different. Like, it's weird because they're so similar, but the differences are noticeable. Yeah. I wonder if it'd be possible for them to update the model.
I hope so. I mean, his tail in Warhammer 3 is kind of broken at the moment. It kind of plops to the side. It's weird.
Yeah, but I mean, like you get so little of them. I would love for them to take another whack at his model for hopefully when we get him in Immortal Empires.
Yeah.
But moving on, we've got Ray showing up here with, I don't know what this is. I assume it's a Custodes because it's very banana.
Yeah. I think it is a Custodes.
Do you know what it is? I don't know what it is.
It's either Custodes or a 30k. No, this is a Forge World model, isn't it? Or am I losing my mind?
It's a golden boy. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. You got the stone bolter on the wrist.
I like that he went with a gold base. Ray was just like, everything will be gold. All the things. Oh, I should like these as I'm going down. Here we go. Boop, boop, and boop. It looks great, right?
Yeah, looks really nice.
Good use of the blue. I don't know. Blue makes a really good aesthetic. That glowy blue makes a very, very nice aesthetic to gold plate.
Yeah, it separates from everything because like there's so much gold when it comes to the Custodes, so a little bit of color does help them pop.
Yep. Keep at it, man. It's looking good. Well, it says it's a Custodes in Terminator armor.
Oh.
What? Haunchy has sent in a squirrel.
Oh, it's the Blood Bowl squirrel, isn't it?
Yeah, he sent in a Blood Bowl squirrel with an acorn.
Oh.
Great.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a good looking squirrel. Looks good. Reminds me of that time that Athel Lauren was almost destroyed by a squirrel. Though that squirrel ate acorn from the Oak of Ages, so it got like kaiju sized. I love that story. He also, if we click on that image, you can scroll up and you see he actually submitted the Chameleon Skink character from the War Band, oh gosh, brain fart, the Underworlds Seraphon War Band, which this is easily the best mini out of that set.
Really good
the new Chameleon Skink design is so good. He did a beautiful job on this mini.
It is. That's all contrast paint then. That's really good.
A lot of it. Do you see? Man, look at the eyes. He's got like the hypnotic effect you'd see in cartoons.
God, Hypnotoad, yeah.
Yeah, it's got like a Hypnotoad look to it. I really, really like this design.
Yeah, it's freaking cool. The paint scheme is just really nice too. It makes it it is really impressive.
It's very dark, but it works very nicely. Next up, Champion of Corn sent in a Skarbrand, which will be very on topic for later today because we're going to be talking about some Total War Warhammer 3, of course. And it looks great. I mean, it looks good. I like how there's a demon head on the ground.
Yeah, he's got a Bloodthirster head there, doesn't he?
Yeah, it must have been an extra one in the kit he's using as a basing. Looks good.
That's cool.
If you can, my dude, I would recommend maybe add a little more onto the base there if you can. If you can get there's a I forget what it's called, but there's like a Blood for the Blood God gore paint you can get that could make some like really cool puddles and stuff. You might try that out, or the mini looks like it's turning out fantastically, dude.
Yeah.
Great job, Champion of Corn. Next up, we've got a Skaven Doomwheel by Tactical Sign. Oh, I love this mini. Like, I think about how ugly the old Doomwheel was, and then I look at this one, it's just like, it makes me happy.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them myself. They're just great miniatures.
It's a very clean paint job. Like it's almost like too clean for this Doomwheel. Like just came out of the workshop or just came through a car wash. Man, he did a great job on the Warpstone.
Yeah, he really.
The Warpstone turned out absolutely gorgeous.
That is great.
So did the wood. I think the only thing I'd say is maybe dirty up like a lot of the metallic parts and the green tubes. But other than that, it looks absolutely fantastic.
Super, super cool.
Next up, we got a different Bloodthirster in from Hios06. I'm not sure which one this is, but it is a big angry boy.
Incessant Rage, isn't it?
I think so, with the big old axe.
That's cool.
Where do you get those? Those look like orc skulls on the base.
That's from the skull kit that GW sells.
Ah, that would make sense. I imagine that gets a lot of easy use when you're a corn player.
It's really nice looking too.
I, I always love how just absolutely ripped the wings are on the bloodthirsters. Like they're so goofily muscular. Like it's just like like it looks like he bench presses with his wings. It looks great, man. I really like how the axe turned out too. The part where it's got like some dried gore on it. It turned out really nice.
That is awesome.
Good job. Good job. All right. Moving on. We've got what's next? Oh, Visarchs of the Unari Eldari by Kuro. I think this is one of their newer minis.
I think so. Yeah, didn't these come out like recently?
I think so. It definitely seems like a character model.
It's very cool though.
I really liked how the base turned out. The snow-covered earth actually looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks like a texture, like you get in a game type of thing, because it looks like earth.
Especially like the way it's on the boots and stuff.
Mm.
It looks way fucking better than when I try and do snow. Which is why I don't try and do snow anymore. Because mine looks like ass. And the trimming with the gold actually also turned out very, very nice.
Yeah, nice
Look
accents.
Great. Good job, Kira. Next up, we've got a Tyrannid Demicharon by Raving. I love this mini. It's just oh my god, that chest though. I don't like it. I changed my mind. I don't. Oh, that looks painful.
This is a big.
Why is it ripping its own chest open?
So cool.
Is there like a bonus mouth in there that I just can't see?
Very cool.
Man, I love Tyranids. I wish they got more attention. I mean, obviously they've got a new book that is apparently the entire fucking thing is leaked onto the internet somehow.
As usual.
But well, apparently like the whole thing is out, which is like unprecedentedly bad of a leak. I don't even think you can call that a leak. Like, it's literally just like a piracy. Like, there's just a pirate working at GW now. Or a playtester or something. I imagine GW is not happy about that.
Well, the player base is quite happy because from what I've been told, NID players are actually excited now for their book.
That's good. Hopefully people will still buy it. Not just steal it. As much as I shit on GW and their bullshit prices, like, I don't think stealing from them is necessarily the best option. But, yeah, it looks great. Looks great. Nice classic Leviathan colors. Looks absolutely fantastic. Then we've got a Doom Bull by Big Red Bear. And the mini is from Zealot Miniatures. And that is a excellent... Well, A, it's an excellent paint job, but B, Zealot Miniatures makes a kick-ass Doom Bull.
They do. That is so cool. Jeez. It's really, really cool. Like, it's got a fucking mace on the fucking end of the tail and everything. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like this one conveys, like, a Minotaur's size and design, so to speak.
Yeah.
Better than GW's does. I don't know, like GW's is like it. I feel like the problem with the current Minotaur and Doom Bull kits is that they knew they had to rank up on 40mm square bases.
Yeah.
So they're like really overstuffed looking.
Yeah.
In a very itty bitty amount of space. You know, like this guy looks like he is more on an Age of Sigmar size base, you know, kind of that nice rounded base, and has a lot more room to work with that you could then just put on top of a square base.
Yeah. It's so cool.
I almost kind of hope that in fantasy we go up just a little bit on most of the base sizes.
Yeah, it's something I've discussed with some of my viewers. It's like, get the basic infantry to 25 mil, get the bigger infantry to 30 mil, and just upscale everything a little bit just to have the space.
up everything by like 5 or 10 millimeters.
Yeah. That's so cool. That was a great model, man. Fucking hell.
Yep. Next up, from Night in Flames, we have a beautiful kit bash.
I don't have that.
Man, and of course, Night in Flames paints just look at all this. Look how much shit is going on on this.
I don't have that.
You don't?
Nope.
On the Lorebeards hashtag? It should be on March 13th.
Only thing I have from 13th is Rowan.
Really? You don't see Night in Flames?
Nope.
Hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna cheat. Just gonna drop it in our comment section real quick.
1 second. I've got to turn off Discord so nothing gets seen.
Because it's a damn gorgeous mini.
That's weird. I don't know why I can't see that.
The disc is like, oh my god, it's so elaborate, dude.
Yeah, now I see it. That's fucking awesome. Wow.
And he does like that great job with the flames. Like, ugh. That's a nice looking mini.
This is a kit bash too. Jesus.
That
it
looks like a Zongor Shaman on disc taken up to 11.
Yeah, definitely. That is fucking cool. That is
looks great, man. Then we got Rowan the Accused, and Rowan always does such clean, like crisp paint jobs, man.
He does, yeah.
And his Tau are just... His basing is also, like, absolutely incredible. He does very good work.
Love the Pathfinders. Those are cool.
I really like the gray color scheme. Like the mostly gray with red accent. But, I mean, they all look fantastic. But, man, his basing is, like, it's so crisp. Like, the way, like, that literally looks like if I go out in, like, fall or winter to the, like, the some of the earth that's down over by these baseball fields, that's exactly what it looks like. The way it's all cracked and stuff.
Yeah.
Looks incredible. And then oh god, when was the last Lorebeards? I think it was like the 6th.
What was it? Wait, I don't remember.
Oh wait, but we didn't do it the last Lorebeards. Okay, so we're still going. We
haven't done Tale 2 Gamers in a while.
Yeah, so we'll keep plowing forward. All right, so Goat Force sending in freaking Titan boys. I cannot imagine anything more intimidating to paint than freaking Legio Mordaxis Reavers by Goat Force.
These are cool.
They look great. Like, it's so much model. Like, it's just so much model to have to paint. Oh my gosh, they look great. The rust looks really, really good on the feet and the barrels and the cannons and stuff. Like, that looks very, very nice. He's got those beautiful, like, decals. I think is the right term.
Yeah, decals.
Yeah, it just looks awesome, dude. Looks absolutely awesome.
These are super cool.
And then Prince Baron the Super Ego sends in a uniquely made, I guess, a kit batch casket of souls. I love that it's carried by mummies. I feel like he literally took a page out of from Total War Warhammer, how they like carry the Anvil of Doom. It's like, well, let's just carry the casket.
This is from TT Combat Miniatures, apparently. That's cool.
Though I will say, the way they're carrying it makes me feel very much like they're about to throw it.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like they're about to, like, shot put that shit across the battlefield. Looks great, dude. I love the colors. I love the way the stone turned out. The mummies look great. I think the mummies in particular look very, the bandaging looks very, very nice.
That's so cool.
Then we've got another piece from Baron. He's got Drycha. Oh my gosh, I love the Drycha mini.
That's so cool. They still have her on sale, right?
I believe so. Well, there's two different Drychas now. There's the classic fantasy Drycha, which is this one, which I think you can buy. It's just a branch wraith. And then there's the Drycha Hammerdreth, which is the mecha crazy shit one that I also love that mini. Even though it gives a lot of people trypophobia. But yeah, this looks great.
The shoulder pads, yeah.
Looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Then we've got actually, we've got another piece from Ray. I think this is a different... No, this is the same guy we saw earlier. But this was the work in progress. Very cool. Oh my god, though. But the next thing Ray sent in is like... Damn. Nice. Okay, he said this is a friend of theirs. So it's like a Chaos Warband. Oh, dude, look at that. I don't even know what that is. Like a Warrior of Slaanesh?
No, that's the Drukhari.
Oh, Drukhari. Man, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, and Abaddon too. Nice.
Like with that basing and the colors. Oh my gosh.
Very, very cool.
And then they got discount Arkhan. What's his name?
Abaddon. Failbadon, sorry.
That guy.
Failbadon the Armless. Well, he's plastic now.
The less successful Arkhan. Awesome mini though. Like I love his how big his presence is. He looked great.
The gems on the Drukhari. Wow.
And that Drukhari model is like, mwah. Oh man.
So cool.
Okay, and that's I think we're caught up.
Yeah, we're caught up.
Or we're gonna say we're caught up, and if those minis that come after that are minis you want us to show off and we didn't, we're so sorry, but we gotta move on and just resubmit them for next time. I'm sorry. I'm just not sure how much we missed, but hopefully that'll... Sorry, guys. Okay. So, next up on the agenda is, of course, a fun segment that everyone loves and nobody ever complains about because whatever reason. But it's time for a Who Would Win, which we skipped last time because we were really tight on time.
Yeah.
So I saw this one suggested in my Who Would Win Arena Discord thread. I am an asshole because you know what? Hold on. No, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna look up who it was. I'm just gonna block my screen because I'm not gonna. I need to be better about that. Hold on. I want to thank. Where is it? I want to thank Alator from my Discord community for suggesting this matchup. Okay, so the matchup is Arkhan the Black, the Lich King and most favored Lieutenant of Nagash, versus Kugoth Plaguefather, the Brewmaster of Plagues and the favored son of Grandfather Nurgle. So, as we always do, I'm going to give a brief rundown of our two contestants, a brief reminder of the rules since it's been a week, and then we will hash it out. So in one corner, we have Arkhan the Black, the terrifying Lich Lord, the blackened skeleton himself, who, for whatever reason, didn't show up blackened in Total War Warhammer, but whatever, that's fine.
There's a mod for that.
Who, of course, is a terrifying combatant. As anyone who's played multiplayer against Tomb Kings knows, he is a proficient caster at the Lore of Death. One of the best, they say. And he does bring quite a few interesting things to the battlefield. He will, of course, be riding on his signature mount. It doesn't have a special name, but he has a flying chariot. which the chariot is, of course, it's not floating like it does in Total War. It literally flies, and is able to zip across the skies and through the battlefields and stuff, which is important for him because it allows Arkhan the Black to avoid really nasty situations. Especially when he's dealing with someone like Cetra. He relies very heavily on that flying magical chariot to keep him away from getting carved to pieces by pissed off Tomb Kings who might be over to overwhelm him in combat. As far as his skills go, he, of course, is a powerful wielder of the Lore of Death. He does also specialize in necromancy. He has the ability to raise the dead, and most uniquely, Arkhan is one of the very, very few characters in Warhammer Fantasy who knows how to resurrect Tomb King dead and Vampire Count undead. I really think the only other person that knows how to do that is probably Nagash himself.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really cool thing that he brings into it. As far as what kind of fighter we're dealing with, Arkhan is surprisingly tough. He's actually, he is a Tomb King, essentially. He has gone through a lot of very powerful enhancements to his immortal body as a spooky skeleton. And he is much stronger and tougher than you may think. He's much more on par with a powerful ogre as opposed to a man or a skeleton. But he's quite durable. His body is very, very resistant to damage. And he can hit surprisingly hard when he needs to. However, he doesn't really have the best resistance against sustained damage. Though, of course, he is able to use little tricks to repair the damage that his body takes. And furthermore, if he gets into a combat scenario, that's not where Arkhan's strength is. He can hold his own in combat, but he's not going to be really, saving the day and claiming any major wins. He's a skilled combatant, but he's not like, Tomb King level combatant. He's more almost like a slightly less skilled Tomb Prince, if you were thinking about combat capabilities. However, of course, he is a very powerful wizard. He's one of the most powerful wizards that we know of among the undead. He is considered pretty much an equal to Manfred von Karstein when it comes to magics of magic, which is pretty impressive. And furthermore, he does have a pretty nasty selection of magic items. Mm-hmm. He does have the Tomb Blade of Arkhan, which basically the way that we're going to work this, because the way it traditionally works is more of Arkhan kills people and then immediately resurrects the person that dies to serve them. He literally stabs someone, and if he kills you with it, the sword causes your body to be incinerated, leaving behind a blackened and charred skeleton, much like Arkhan himself, and that skeleton then works for him now. But it does essentially channel energy from the damage it causes into another source. So in a desperate situation, he could theoretically use it to cut, say, Kugoth Plaguefather and heal himself a little bit, but it would be it's not designed very well for that. Mm-hmm. But there is that. Another thing is, of course, he has the Staff of Nagash, the original Staff of Nagash that belonged to the big man himself. And basically what this allows him to do is that the Staff of Nagash is an artifact that is designed to store lots of magical power. So it saps the winds of magic around it and stores it in the staff. So as he's blasting magic at someone or working his own ability to dispel and unravel an opponent's magics, any winds of magic that are gusting by them that is not utilized in a particular spell or moment is eaten up by the staff, which allows Arkhan to basically take advantage of, even if a spell slips out of his control for a moment, he basically is able to bolster and prepare for a next fight. And then last but certainly not least is, of course, the Liber Mortis, which basically it's one of the 9 books of Nagash. It's one of the original 9 books of Nagash. It's not a copy. It's one of the OG ones. And wielding it makes Arkhan just a very, very scary wizard. Mm-hmm. One of the strongest wizards in the setting. Like he's up there with the big boys, Teclis, Manfred von Karstein, all those guys, because he has that, on top of his own capabilities. It's a lot. But there are two little things we do need to note about him. He is, of course, Neherkarn undead, so he's not going to be bothered by a lot of the plague nonsense that Kugoth will bring, unless he unleashes like a type of bone rot type of magical plague. But he's not very easily bothered by like flies and all those other things. He is flammable. Not really going to matter against Kugoth, but good to know. And then, of course, he does have the curse upon him. And Arkhan is actually very famous for his iteration of the curse, because after he was killed, nobody touched his body for a very long time, because everyone was scared that Arkhan warned them all that whoever would try to move his corpse would die a most horrible death. And everyone was too chicken shit to test his theory on that. But it is true. If you did manage to strike down Arkhan the Black, a terrible curse would befall you, and it would hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And then on the other corner, coming in at God knows how many pounds, we've got Kugoth Plaguefather, the Plague Weaver, the Rotting Pox Maker. So Kugoth is one of the most favored demons of Grandfather Nurgle. He's certainly the biggest and baddest of the Great Unclean ones that we know of in Warhammer Fantasy. And as far as what he brings to the table, Kugoth he's tough. He is a big, mean, tanky boy who is surprisingly skilled in combat. In some iterations of stories, he carries a flail with him. Obviously, he doesn't use it in Total War Warhammer because they use much more, honestly, I think, exciting animations of him like slamming nurglings together and stuff. But he has shown up to battlefields carrying more traditional weapons, though he is more than capable. But he's strong. He hits like a truck. He's much more akin to a dragon's level of strength and capabilities in combat, though he's even tougher and more durable. Obviously, Demons of Nurgle specialize in being hard to kill, stabbing them in the gut, piercing their heart, deflating one of their lungs. Doesn't bother them nearly as much as it would a normal person. And he's a tanky boy, but he can hold his own in combat. Kugoth is a very skilled combatant. Not in the sense of like, fencing per se, but he's quite capable of defending himself and smashing someone to pieces with a superior strength. Of course, his palanquin is carried by a swarm of nurglings. Just this disgusting little tide of nasty things that are giggling and, gnawing and attacking at an opponent that gets too close. Though obviously their height is very limited, especially because they're busy carrying the palanquin. And Kugoth, fun fact about him, he's actually not that skilled of a wizard. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think Kugoth is like an amazing sorcerer, but he's not. He's actually one of the worst wizards among the greater demons. If you wanted to deal with a much more... that's actually kind of not the focus of Nurgle's special characters, being wizards. And that's something that actually separates him very heavily from the likes of Rodigus Rainfather from Age of Sigmar. Is that Kugoth is much more of a fighter, and of course an artillery piece. Because while he doesn't, he's capable, obviously he can use magic, he's not the most gifted at it. His magic tends to be more of augmenting his own prowess and using his sorceress abilities to try and mess with other wizards, as opposed to unleashing great terrifying spells. Mm-hmm. But he makes up for it because of his nurgling infestation, which is, of course, that Kugoth himself is infested with nurglings and often reaches into his guts and pulls out nurglings and throws them at people. And he is terrifyingly accurate with those missiles. He's pretty good at... that's actually his most notable ability, is that he literally will... sorry, that's the necrotic missiles. My bad. The necrotic missiles, he's literally just launching nurglings at you. And if those things hit, it hurts. He can throw nurglings with a surprising amount of force, and they are dense little balls of just magical disease that will ruin your day, because it's literally like being hit with a horrible acid that eats through any armor you might have and will infect you with... Because Kugoth makes plagues on the fly in his little cauldron that he usually has or around him, and he'll dip his nurglings in himself or wherever he's retaining this new plague he's cooked up and throw it. So he's able to make a disease to deal with whatever situation he's in as he's fighting. Beyond that, of course, then there's the nurgling infestation, which is that swarm of nurglings. You cannot reliably kill them because Kugoth is literally so infested with them that they're constantly pouring and spawning from his body. So even if you were to somehow attack or wound the nurglings, he would literally just they're back. Yeah. To the extent that, and he's pouring out so many nurglings that he even causes like nurgling swarms to start regenerating around him, which is so. If you put these two in a fight where they're both kind of wielding all their advantages, you would literally have Arkhan's skeletons versus Kugoth's nurglings while the two of them are battling it out. And then, of course, the last thing's notable about Kugoth, he does have the slime trail gift, which means that he has copious amounts of this thick, disgusting, mucus-like slime that is constantly trailing around and behind him. That makes it where if you try and attack Kugoth from an unconventional angle, it's probably not a great idea, because it's so just like thick and corrosive and nasty that you're not going to be able to do like a quick hit and run. If you get too close to Kugoth, that stuff's going to slow you down and muck you up and get like in Arkhan's chase is going to get in the wheels of his chariot, slow down his steeds, and it just isn't going to give him an advantage from striking from multiple angles. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, of course, being a demon of Nurgle, he has poisoned attacks, which does matter even against the undead. And being a demon of Nurgle, he's constantly swarming with flies that try and distract people in close combat. So, long-windedness over. That's the matchup. Nathan, what are your thoughts?
It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. Would Arkhan have his mount? Like with the fly special rule and everything?
Yep. So Arkhan's on the flying chariot of doom, and Kugoth is on his palanquin.
Very tough matchup, to be honest, if we look at it that way, because
I think we both would agree that if Arkhan was not on the chariot, he would just die.
Yeah.
Kugoth would just go, just chuck.
I might have to go with Arkhan due to speed and Lore of Death. Lore of Death we know is really, really powerful. Though Kugoth could have a really good shot and just like knock him out of the sky.
We'll kind of break it down a bit. What are your thoughts on what do you think would go down?
So if we go with both, if we just see like 1-on-1 and all that usual stuff, Arkhan would have to be moving around super quick to be able to dodge pretty much anything that's thrown at him, which is doable with the type of mount that he has, because, like, fly was always a bit strange. Lore-wise, it's a bit slower, though, but it's still a chariot. Kugoth would be able to throw a lot of explosive nurglings, though. Magic-wise, Arkhan beats him for sure.
Oh, yeah. Arkhan has him, like, hilariously whooped.
Yeah. I'm saying I'm going to have to go with the whole Arkhan thing, because Lore of Death is just, like, really, really strong. I don't think Kugoth will be fast enough to react. I don't know. Thing is, when you look at a Great Unclean One, it's usually, slow. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're lumbering.
Yeah. So I don't think he'll be able to react as quick, though, mind you, if he gets a hit, he gets a hit. Like, that takes out Arkhan without an issue. I don't know, man. I'm going to have to go... Yeah, I'm going to have to go Arkhan. I'm going to have to go with speed and Lore of Death, because it's just... It's what makes sense to me at the moment.
Okay, don't forget to do a poll.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I'm getting mine set up now, and then I'll give my... So, I do think you have some really good points there. Like, the Lore of Death is a terrifying lore. It very heavily specializes in sapping the strength out of your enemies and wearing down their spirit. And there is, of course, the unholy abomination that is the Purple Sun, which, even to someone like Kugoth, is pretty nasty. Yeah. It's pretty a horrible thing to deal with. If it got a direct hit on Kugoth, it could deal a horrific amount of damage. As basically a Purple Sun, from a lore standpoint, it's actually much scarier than it is in Total War.
Yeah.
From a lore standpoint, it's this horrifying like it says, a purplish sun that appears, like a purple star, but it's in the shape of this giant skull. And what it does is it flies around, and you basically just, if you cannot ward it off via magical means, you just have to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Because if it basically manages to touch you with its magical aura, it turns your body into amethyst crystal, and you die instantly. It is a horrifying spell.
It's like super dangerous on Warhammer Fantasy 8 too. I've seen it demolish a unit, like a whole.
Oh yeah, it was just busted.
Yeah.
In 8th edition, because it had some goofy rules that it shouldn't have had. But surprisingly, Kugoth is faster than he looks. Kugoth does actually have the reaction time with his Nurglings and him being like, heave to starboard, that he actually stood a very, very good chance of avoiding it from killing him. And the thing is, while the Lore of Death is very strong, it does tend to specialize much more in trying to exploit the spiritual or physical weaknesses of someone, or their attributes. I'll say spiritual or physical attributes in order to harm them. Which, strangely enough, Kugoth, I think, is very resistant against. But that makes sense, right? Because the Lore of Death is Nurgle's kind of patron lore. It is the lore of magic that Nurgle is most dedicated to. Thanks for the raid, Lionheart. Good to see you. We're in the middle of chatting about something. Good to see you. Honestly, I think that despite the fact Arkhan would overwhelmingly have magic in his favor, I don't think it would be enough to save him.
Yeah.
Because if one of those necrotic missiles manages to strike him, it actually has a very reasonable chance to just kill him outright. Like a good chance to kill him outright.
Yeah.
But at the very least, his chariot would be horribly damaged. And the thing about Kugoth is Arkhan's only way to kill him would be through magic.
Yeah.
Because Kugoth is way tougher, and he is a vastly superior combatant. Arkhan would have a horrific time trying to just hurt Kugoth with non-magical means. Like his Tomb Blade is very nasty.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any like notable effects to buff Arkhan's very considerable strength. Or like get through the magical nature of Kugoth's defenses. Like, would he be able to cut Kugoth's skin? Absolutely. But would that actually hurt Kugoth? No. you gotta hit really hard to deal with Kugoth. So I'm gonna go with Kugoth Plaguefather, because he has multiple victory conditions, and that if he can, like, when Arkhan like tries to come in close, to maybe make it a little more difficult for the necrotic missiles to hit him, or Kugoth's able to force him close by, he would just obliterate him. And if he manages to hit with one of those Nurglings, it's pretty much game over. And Arkhan's only way to victory would be to take down Kugoth through magic, which, granted, he could absolutely do. If you throw enough purple suns at a problem, sooner or later it's going to work out. But I think it's a great fight. I appreciate that matchup from the Who Would Win Arena. See, people, I do actually go in there and check. And my chat is about to finish voting here in a second. How'd yours turn out?
So far, 67% to Arkhan.
Okay. And mine is going to wrap up here in just a sec. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And while that's in, Nathan, for those people looking for a theme for Tale of Two Gamers, did you have one?
Sorry, it's just I've been painting, but I've been painting other stuff at the moment because I'm getting ready for some things.
I am putting broken stuff back together.
Yeah, I've just had to build up some freaking plague toads and slam my head because I hate the resin models so much.
Yeah.
Let's say...
Well, plague toad, what about a beast?
Yeah, beast.
War beasts, monstrous beasts, creatures. Not necessarily monsters, but creatures.
Yeah, war beast sounds good. That'll give me a reason to actually finish up this Jabba's Life, which has been looking at me on my table for like the past 3 weeks.
And just a reminder, you don't have to do the theme. It's just there for someone that has like a plastic graveyard and is like, oh, I don't know what to paint. So it's there for those people. If you've got something else you want to paint, feel free to do that. So with my chat, 56% of chat went with Kugoth Plaguefather, 44% went with Arkhan the Black. Awesome. All right, so next on today's docket, if I can find the stupid thing, is... yes, Cubicle 7. Okay, so, pretty exciting announcement. And we're going to talk a little bit about our thoughts about it. Nathan, why don't you tell us what's on the up and up?
So, Cubicle 7 just recently announced something else that's coming out, hopefully at some point soon. Well, they're quite fast with releasing when they do announcements anyway, called Up in Arms, which I've discussed in videos before. They've already, they're doing some more expansion to the Empire lore. Keep in mind that obviously the Empire is the main focus with Warhammer Fantasy in most cases. But there was some really interesting stuff because they're going to go into detail regarding the Knightly Orders, which I think is freaking cool. And it looks like they're going to put a little emphasis towards Talia and Dogs of War characters, which is going to be really, really nice. Because if we go back a while back, they did show off some new Araby art too, didn't they?
Yeah, so Up in Arms has been described as... I think I've got a little lore blurb here. It is described as... a history of the role of mercenaries in the War of the Old Worlds, including the background and rules to support playing Talayan characters and other dogs of war. Mm-hmm. Presumably, there may also be some knight-centric stuff in there.
Yeah.
But it does seem like it's going to very heavily feature on Talaya and the Dogs of War specifically.
So that
which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting news.
So, yeah, it sounds really, really cool. I mean, Cubicle 7, keep in mind, for those not aware who are more centric to Total War Warhammer, is that Cubicle 7 have been the people keeping Warhammer Fantasy alive post-explosion, you know? So, we do kind of have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, and to be frank, they've done an amazing job. I am playing through the main storyline they released, which they basically took one of the original super duper duper famous storylines, which is called the Enemy Within campaign, which was back in 2nd edition, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and they've modernized it. And the thing they did that was so cool was instead of just releasing it and being like, we updated the rules, but it's the same thing, they made it where it's in the modern setting. Mm-hmm. So the whole point is you basically start with the Empire as it was back in like 5th or 6th edition fantasy. And as you play through the campaign, you get to, you as the characters get to help influence events and play through the campaign that builds up to the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Empire, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
And you get to play through events that are canonical. So, like, when you start off playing it, whether you're the GM or the players, you may look and go, oh, I don't recognize, like, some of these Imperial provinces. Well, the reason is because they haven't... there's some things that still have to happen. So you get to go through those events. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I believe my group just finished book 1. And I'm going to describe what happened... But just note that what I'm about to say may not necessarily happen to your group. There's a lot of ways the story can change and alter. And my group did a lot of really cool things. We also made some apparently poor decisions. But my group, the ending of our last major session, we thought we succeeded. But no, we failed utterly to stop a ritual that summoned Cairo's Fate Weaver into the imperial city of Bogenhofen, and the city was pretty much razed to the ground. And we fled as people were being transformed into Chaos Spawn, and fire was raining from the sky, and just, it was bad. It was real bad. So, yeah, things are a little dicey for our group right now. But hopefully when we get to play on this next Sunday, and we start getting into whatever the second book holds in store for us, we can maybe find a way to rescue the city.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fun. It's fun stuff.
Yeah.
But in any event, is there anything in particular you think you're looking forward? Like, is there anything that you're really, really hoping to see in Up in Arms that you think will be in there?
Well, they did promote that Araby artwork in the back. Like, what was it? Like last year at some point, was it?
Yeah, near the end of last year.
Yeah. So I'm hoping for maybe a bit of context with that, because a lot of people seem to forget that Araby was part of the Dogs of War. A little bit of context regarding some stuff. I don't know what we'll get. It would be cool if we got some deeper lore given the cultures, because obviously with GW kind of alluding to the fact that we might have split cultures now, I kind of want to get like a bit of context, because obviously most we know about Talia is like they have leaning towers as their battle towers and so on, because of course they do,
I mean, yeah, we have a decent amount of lore for Talia that's survived from like the 5th edition Dogs of War book, which is 95% about Talia.
Yeah.
And of course, the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay actually gave us a lot of Talayan information.
Yeah.
That being said, it of course was very 6th edition.
Yeah.
In the sense that 6th edition was very like factions had a lot of very silly things to them, and a lot of the silliness was like core to their identity. Like the silliness was the point.
Yeah.
Is I guess what I'm trying to say. In 7th edition and 8th edition, they definitely focused a lot more on like actual world building.
Yeah.
And trying to make like actually interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see Talia updated. Because, I mean, what Nathan said literally isn't a joke. There's a whole thing in Talayan literature about how, like, Leonardo de Merigliano built a leaning tower, and it caught on as, like, a fad. So, like, there's a whole thing in Talea about all the nobles and wealthy people try to build, like, the tower that leans the most without falling over. And they're just, like, these absolutely ridiculous things.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I mean, I'm hoping that we get a bit of a change. I'd love to see, Talia stay more, obviously, Renaissance Italy style, and then get some Estalia maybe in the style of the Inquisitions. Would be cool.
Yeah, well, especially because I was actually doing some interesting reading lately, and it seems that pretty much kind of the major separating thing between Estalia and Talea, because there are some notable similarities. They used to be the same country once.
Yeah.
They were both originally conquered by the mortal incarnation of Myrmidia, and then when she died, the nations eventually split. And so they both have like this obsession with the Myrmidian cult, where Estalia claims the mortal incarnation of Myrmidia was born in Magrida, whereas the Talayans say, no, she was born in, I think, Remus. Or...
No,
it doesn't matter, but one of the Talayan cities. And it's like a huge like dispute between them.
Yeah.
However, the armies that they've kind of been focused against have been very different, which I think could lead to how we might see them evolve more interestingly.
Yeah.
Most notably, the Estalian kingdoms have faced two massive threats. The first is, of course, the Arabians. When Sultan Jafar very unexpectedly invaded the Old World, he invaded Estalia. He didn't even go to Talea. He just went for Estalia. And it was ugly.
Yeah.
Like, he took Estalia. A lot of people were enslaved. A lot of people were killed. He burned a lot of cities down and stuff, and when he saw the Old World come for him, he was like, oh shit, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And he pieced out, leaving only behind Emir the Cruel, who ended up being killed in the siege of Magrida. But and then they all, of course, chased him down and fought. Eventually, brought Sultan Jafar to justice. But so you have that major incident, which Talea completely avoided, and the other thing, which is much more recent. Actually, it's not much more recent, but it's fairly recent. Was I believe it's called the War of Blood. And that war there was a big scary vampire, whose I believe his name was is Necruo, Nehuko, something like that. But there was this terrifying vampire, and to put into perspective how scary this guy is, this was if you consider the original vampires as first generation, this was a second generation Necrarch.
Yeah.
So this was a Necrarch vampire who had lived in Nehekara while it was alive and was one of Wazoran's acolytes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like one of the scariest sons of bitches you could possibly go up against. And he went down to Astalia and just dominated them. Basically everything between the Irana Mountains, which is their major mountain range, and the Southern Sea got completely torn to pieces. Mm-hmm. And the only way, and like Astalians put up everything they had to try and stop him. And the only way he was defeated was that he was taking a bunch of artifacts because he wanted to become super powerful and stuff, and he was looking for knowledge. And he eventually fought his way to the holiest site of Magritta, which was the Temple of Myrmidia. Mm-hmm. And he went in there to claim I think it's called the Book of War, or which is like one of the holiest artifacts belonging to Myrmidia. And when he went in there alone, and then all of a sudden his armies just started falling apart. And when the Astalians finally managed to get into the temple, they found that all that was left of the vampire was a pile of ashes next to the undisturbed artifact. So from what I can tell and all the lore I've been reading, it does seem very much to me that the cult of Myrmidia, like the true Myrmidian influence, is with Astalia. Astalia are the religious zealots. Like when it comes, and they've got Myrmidia truly and fully behind them. Mm-hmm. Whereas Talea to me feels more like the arts and the sciences and merchants and mercenaries.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that divide. Like obviously Myrmidia is still one of the if not the principal deity of most of Talea. Mm-hmm. But I would love to really see them kind of still bickering over that, but the Astalians to really have like the scary, like the real focus on the goddess, and all of that, and be much more with like zealots and all that stuff. And then on the Talayan side, we have more of like these crazy inventions, and of course, like you said, Renaissance theme, a lot of really like interesting guns, pike and shot. But of course, you've got like the Roman theme coming in from the city of Remus. Which has its own unique gods. The twins of, I believe it's Lucan or Lucarzin, something, and his sister Lucini. Yeah. I think, and they're worshipped as gods, the twins that founded the city.
Yeah.
And they have a very, very unique system of soldiers because they fight the way Romans fought. So they've got like those big shields and the swords, and they fight with like the really cool formations that everybody loves the Romans to do. So Talea having that kind of fusion of Roman soldiery with Renaissance tech and tactics, I think would have such a cool theme to it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that Lorenzo Lupo model for the first time. I was like, this doesn't fit, but it does, because it's weird, you know?
Yeah, well, they're like, I think of them kind of as like a knightly order.
Yeah.
Like it's a specialist group, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But that being said, my biggest hope that I'm really praying for is I hope they retcon Borgio the Besieger so he's still alive.
Well, I mean, I don't know, because they'll probably, if we get like Talia for Old World, like obviously Total War can just bring him back, you know?
Yeah, I know, but I just liked him. Like the dude was the first guy since Myrmidia herself who's united all of Talea, and then he just dies in a bathtub.
Yeah.
He has such a stupid death. I think he's technically killed by a spoon that was poisoned by his sister-in-law. Yeah. But it's like the whole thing about Borgio is that he was like impossible to kill, and then he dies a very silly death. But I'm very excited for the book. Personally, based on how they've talked about it, I'm expecting knights, like a lot of, because we know Talea has a shitload of knights. They've got tons of knights. So I'm very much expecting Up in Arms to be like a lot of rules for knights, though much more in like the mercenary sense, not like the jousting or any of that, which we'll probably see in a Bretonnian update at some point.
Yeah.
But I really hope it's going ham on the Dogs of War and Talea specifically. That being said, if Estalia, Border Princes, and Araby show up in it, which I consider to be part of the Dogs of War race, I would not complain.
Yeah.
Would not complain at all.
I mean, any context from them would be great because they write stuff really well. So,
well, yeah, and they've been doing very clever things lately. I mean, we talked about last time.
Yeah.
The taking the Dreadmaw, which really didn't fit anybody, and putting it with the Naga of Koresh was like brilliant. Like great move.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so speaking of knights, I think. Oh no, that's not yet. Oh, okay, we're into the fun topic next. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, here we go. Our next topic is the main topic for today, which yeah. So, obviously there's, unless you live under a rock, or smart and just don't get on social media of any kind, including Reddit, you are probably aware that there has been a lot of discussion raging right now about Total War Warhammer 3. Particularly about the launch and the state of the game as it currently exists.
Yeah.
Though when I say currently, I suppose I mean it pre-patch, because we like just got a patch like 2 or 3 days ago. But the patch was more like stabilization stuff. It wasn't really like fixing any of the issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Nathan, what? I don't know where you want to start on this, but
Right, well, before anything, I don't want to see people arguing in the chat about this. We're going to discuss and we're going to have a discussion like adults, okay, everyone? I know that this is a very heated topic for everyone, but we all want the same thing from this series, and I just don't want to see arguments left, right, and center. Let's just talk, yeah? Because it's important. I know a lot of people are very passionate and so on. I am too, Sotek is too, but let's discuss. Okay, so things obviously didn't go out so well for Total War. There were a few issues, some bugs kept creeping back. Let's be honest, the launch could have been better, but this is Creative Assembly, and I don't think through my history of knowing CA there's ever been a good launch. And I've been playing
the launches are always like
yeah.
I think if I could be totally wrong, but I think maybe Three Kingdoms had an okay launch, but I don't remember that well.
It was a bit weird too, unfortunately. But yeah, it's an important discussion. Obviously, myself and Sotek are content partners and so on, but we've been seeing everything. We've been keeping an eye on stuff, especially because there's some bugs which came back. I mean, let's be honest, they did say that the gate bug was gone, and no, the gate bug is apparently back. It's a bit of a disheartening thing, of obviously considering that this is the final game in the series. Obviously, loads of hype and so on. But shall we start off with campaign first, and let's talk about the campaign?
Sure. That's a fine place to start.
Yeah. Okay. So the campaign itself had some issues. A lot of us highlighted them in previous videos and so on. He's got.
That gets rowdy.
Yeah.
They get the stick.
So the campaign had a lot of issues, mainly because rifts were coming up too close. This is something that a lot of us complained about. The race feels like you're being forced into it, unlike, say, for example, the Vortex, where the Vortex, I think the Eye of the Vortex in Warhammer 2 was handled a lot better. You didn't have to actively take part until later on, where you could at least relax with it. But Yeah, I sympathize with people with that. Like, I had so many issues with some of the realms, getting forced into the realms. The realm with Tzeentch particularly is not good. I'm just going to outright say it. I hate that realm so much. Whoever designed it obviously is very Tzeentchian. But I hate puzzles. I'm a brute. And it causes a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues which could have been solved with either spreading out the rifts, the spawning points, which instead of every 40 turns, it could have been like 60 or 80 to make the campaign last longer and make you still allow you to feel Total War. A lot of people are saying it doesn't feel like Total War, and it kind of doesn't, because in most cases, especially if you play in harder difficulties, because you want more hectic battles, you are kind of stuck there where you really don't want to expand. It's not done so well. I am a big advocate for the toggle, turning on the campaign or not. Someone already made a very good mod for it. Credit to Drunk Flamingo for the fantastic work. But there should have been a toggle to give us the option, you know? There should have been, just for people to enjoy Total War. You've had a long day at work. You don't want to be forced into a campaign. And I sympathize with the players. After a long day, I just want to play Total War. I just want to see demons doing cool shit. Because that's what a lot of us like to do. You know, it's Total War. We like to look at the models. We like to look at them smash into shit and all that. I still think that the story was well written. Because, like, it is Warhammer, right? The story is Warhammer. But having a toggle option to allow people to experience it once or twice or 3 times, depending how many times you want to do it. It is, in fact, the same campaign through, 12 Legendary Lords? It's the same thing over and over again. Once or twice is cool. Doing it over and over is exhausting, in the most polite way of speaking, because the story being written is nice. I like the story. But this is still Total War. And I'm expecting Total War. Right?
Yes. So okay, I'm gonna hop in here. Some of my thoughts. I agree with a lot with what you've said. I do have how do I say this? I do find it almost kind of funny, to be honest, that like the Vortex campaign everyone hated because it was a system of we don't know where the attacks are coming from, and you just had to build up everything super defensive, and it was just annoying. And they somehow managed to find like another annoying system, but it's not the same system. It's a different one, so it's not like they're making the same mistake twice. But instead, it's a system where you can't dodge it. Like it's just in your face.
Yeah.
And basically, you have to keep. Like I think all of us would agree that the Chaos Rifts right now are a little too intrusive. There needs to be a way to properly. There just needs to be a better way to deal with them. In that they show up and you are basically forced to either have a lot of heroes on standby, or make it where like, or you just got armies running around trying to close them and stuff, and they just dump out tons of corruption, which feels super unnecessary. Like it's like they're already spawning demons and characters. Why are they also dumping just an assload of corruption on me? Yeah. I agree the rifts are too much right now.
Yeah.
That needs to be like rolled back.
Yeah.
I also agree that not all the chaos rounds feel very good. Like Khorne and Slash I think are pretty solid. Tzeentch, I don't hate Tzeentch as much as I used to, because someone in my chat pointed out that it's not actually a maze. It just pretends it's a maze. It's just a circle. So like when you show up in Tzeentch's realm, you can only choose between one of 2 options. So just pick a direction and keep going until you arrive on an island that has 3 portals instead of 2 portals. And on that one, you actually have to guess. and it'll either take you immediately to the end or it'll take you basically back to the beginning, in which case you just run back through it and then take the right path.
Yeah.
So like once you know how it works, it's actually a lot simpler because you could just like speed run it. However, I will say it is complete bullshit that it eats up all your movement every time you teleport or interact with anything. I don't understand why they did that. It makes the realm infuriating when it did not need to be, in my personal opinion. Because like if I have a ton of movement, you know, it feels like an unnecessary punishment. Like I should just be able to run through portals until like a Tzeentch army gets in my way or something.
Yeah.
Or I run out of movement.
Yeah.
But I do think Tzeentch's realm and Nurgle's realm need another look.
Yeah.
I also think that something Legend of Total War has said that I don't agree with everything he said about the game by any means, but one thing I do very much agree with is that there needs to be some kind of reward for beating a demon prince.
Yeah.
Right now it's like it advances the story and that is it. And that is it's just not a good enough reward, man.
Yeah. Because you have no like say for example, the best example would be the Realm of Sinesh. You have no incentive to go to the Demon Prince because the fucking rings.
You're incentivized not to.
Exactly. So it's like there is no reason. The thing is with the Realm of Tzeentch with me is that the AI still knows exactly what to do and usually gets there super, super quick. And that's my problem because I had that in a stream once where we got there, but I had to defeat Scarbrand and I had to defeat Kairos because Kairos was right at the demon portal after spending a lot of turns there. And that is extremely frustrated because the AI is obviously not going to go play by our rules. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you're giving a leg up when the objective is to let people play through the story. And there's just so much going on. Especially, I like to play in some harder difficulties. And I'm getting swarmed left, right, and center because player bias is happening. And I mean, you even get that in normal mode. Player bias is happening, you're getting attacked, and you've barely expanded to make armies to defend yourself because you have to make heroes or... because obviously heroes are the best way to close those portals, aren't they?
Well, depends. But I do agree that with the Rift system, the player bias feels very unnecessary. Like, it made, honestly, like, I could see how it made sense in the Vortex campaign.
Yeah.
But in this campaign, it doesn't make sense to me.
At all.
Like, the point of the campaign is not to wipe out your opponent's empire.
Yeah.
And it's not for them to wipe out your empire.
Yeah.
It is to win the race.
Yeah.
That's it. And whereas the Vortex had your empire as an intrinsic part of that race, because it's like, oh, some of your cities are the Vortex cities. In this game, your empire has literally nothing, no bearing whatsoever on the game. Mm-hmm. Which I could see why people say it doesn't feel like a Total War game, because that's very antithetical to a Total War game. I don't hate it. I think it was a really cool experiment. And I think it's an interesting system in and of itself. However, I do think it makes the wait for immortal empires much more glaring than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
And I do agree. I think the Rift should be possible to turn off.
Yeah.
Because or like you should be like I would love to have a setting that they add at the start of the campaign where you could just choose how often the Rifts spawn, including a never option, where it's just like, oh, the Rifts spawn every 20 turns, every 30 turns, 40 turns, 50 turns, and then never. So if you want to go for a domination victory, great, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't. This is something I'm going to talk about in the near future in a video, but something that I think has kind of come to a head with Total War Warhammer 3 is that I'm not sure what it is, but whatever system Creative Assembly uses to test the game to figure out, yes, this system is good, no, this system is not good, this needs to change, this needs to change. I think whatever system they use for that is grossly bad.
Yeah.
Like maybe it used to be good, but I think it's bad now. I know for a fact that CA has testers. However, it seems very cloak and dagger or very clandestine.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that feels so silly in the modern age, especially with CA, because like CA leaks so much, and most of it's not even malicious. It's just like some stupid ass group that's like, oh, we're Russian, so we put the thing out a few hours early because we bad at time zones, or something. Or it's like CA literally does it themselves. Like they literally revealed Boris before. Boris didn't leak from anybody else. That was totally CA's fault. And I just like, even if the group maybe isn't public, like I could see CA not wanting to do what the Larian Studios does, where they have like just the huge public betas. Like I could see that being too much. But I do think the existence of whatever that group is should be public. And I think it should have public applications where people are able to say, hey, here are my system specs, here's the amount of free time I have, and here's the kind of gameplay I like to do.
Yeah.
And they could look through that roster of applicants and say, bring on this guy, bring on this guy, bring on this guy. Because, let's face it, this launch proved two major issues, in my opinion, which is that, A, not nearly enough people were test playing the game and beating it to realize, you know what, this Chaos Rift system is really frustrating. Especially when I've beaten it. Like, even if I want to take over the world, I can't because the rifts are eternal and this is agony. And number two, the game was horribly optimized for many systems.
I still can't play on a 4K monitor. I frame like hell.
Yeah, there are tons, like, I'm not one of them, but there are tons and tons of people who are having horrible issues with the game. Which to me says, whoever and wherever they're testing these games, they do not have a diverse set of systems, because those seem to have completely flown under the radar. So like, I personally think the launch went well. For me personally, like, obviously there are a lot of people who are playing the game and like, oh, I hate this. Like, to me, the game feels very good, overall. But I also am not having any weird system issues, and I also like I enjoy the system for what it is, but like I realize that I am probably a minority, or at least among the people that are discussing their opinions on the game, on minority. But obviously the game has a lot of issues, and like, I hate saying that like it needed more time in the oven when like obviously it needed more time in the oven, but I really am starting to think that CA's obsession with like complete secrecy is really screwing them more than anything else right now.
Yeah.
Of like, I think it would be way more interesting for them to have like a fairly public group, like on the forum, where they're like, hey, or a Discord server where they're like, hey, play this, let us know if it sucks or not, and like, keep in mind anything you see in this group. Like, you can have them sign NDAs, whatever, but like, I don't think it, like, I feel like it would almost be better for them to reveal the things they're gonna do in advance, so the community could go, oh, that's cool, or oh, that sucks. Because if they had come out 6 months before and we're like, hey, as we're developing this game and stuff, like, Be'lakor can be playable if you beat the campaign. If at any point they've announced that, the entire community would have gone, that's fucking dumb. like Be'lakor is only playable once I beat the campaign, and he's a regular lord with barely a unique skill tree of any kind, barely has a unique trait, and he can join any army. Like, I feel like the vast majority of the community would have gone, that's dumb as shit, don't do that.
See,
and they could have gone, oh, okay, let's pivot on that.
That's my issue. If the game went through loads of testing, which it honestly doesn't feel like it, who did they test it to? because anyone would have gone, oh, Be'lakor not playable as a legendary lord, just if you beat the campaign, so you're pretty much done already, so you don't want to, you want to just start again with a new faction. Who testing that would have gone, oh yeah, that's a good idea? Like, why not? Did they not test it with Warhammer fans, Total War Warhammer fans, or just Warhammer fans in general? Did they not have a diverse group of testers, not just people who play Total War? Because if you're going for a Total War thing, they're maybe not too keen on Warhammer and so on. You can't have the same testers going for all the same games, can you? Because it's very, very different.
Watch that end up being the real secret reveals. All the testers are historical fans. That's just like.
I'm not saying it that way, but like
I'm just poking fun. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because I remember when I first unlocked Be'lakor, when we got told how to get in, I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid, isn't it? You know, it's like
and it felt lazy. And there's a couple of things in this game that feel a little lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, this is gonna get me laughed at, but I'm admitting it. I am actually nearly done with my review of Total War Warhammer 3 for a video. But because every time I try and write it, like something new would get figured out and whatever, and I would have to keep changing my opinion. But on like various things. But like some of the big standouts to me were it felt like there were really cool ideas happening throughout the game, and people weren't on the same page. As far as like a really good example is there are 3 very similar systems in the game that function completely differently, being the Kislevite Adamants, the Ogre Camp Tyrant, and the Caravan Lord of Grand Cathay. In that they are 3 pseudo character armies, essentially, that you cannot control, that you are really not supposed to think of them as like normal characters, but they all function completely differently to an extent that I think it's bad. Of like, okay, the Kislevite Adaman you equip to a province, and he generates traits every certain amount of turn, but he doesn't generate any experience. And if you try to use him in a battle, he has the exact same skill tree as a regular boyar. He doesn't have any unique abilities whatsoever. But you can at least like pull him off a city and use him in a fight if you want to, which is the only way he can gain experience. And he can like get traits that buff his combat abilities. But if you take him off the province, you get penalized because he's no longer doing the province. Whatever. Then you got the Caravan Lord, who I think is the best of them. The Caravan Lord, unique traits. They can come with unique armies. They deal with dilemmas. They pick up unique traits. They gain experience. They have a very similar skill tree to the whatever the regular Cathay Lord is called, but it is slightly different. They do have some unique skills. And then you have the Ogre Camp Tyrant, who's by far the worst.
Yeah.
Absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a skill tree. Doesn't have unique traits. You can't like pick what kind of tyrant it is. He can't equip heroes, so he can't have any kind of like hunters. He can't have wizards. He can't move at all. So he's literally just he's basically a major city that you spawn in an area whose garrison you have to pay for, which like you could build up to like 90% reduced upkeep, which is cool, but he has to pay maximum, like practically maximum price for recruitment cost, which what the fuck? That's so expensive. Like it is so expensive to get a 20 stack.
Yeah. And
like those are super vulnerable places that if they get destroyed, it sucks.
Yeah.
You just lost all that progress. Like, why is that Ogre Tyrant not have a skill tree? Why can he not have unique traits? Oh, like, why is the Adamant not gaining regular experience? Like, every single one of those guys should have a skill tree. They should have at least some unique skills.
Yeah.
And they should have like that cool trait system.
Yeah.
The Ogre Tyrant camp is so incredibly boring. I don't even have the words for it.
Yeah.
Like the camp itself is fine, but the Tyrant, unbelievably boring. I was shocked how boring and just basic that system is.
Yeah. I mean, it's so many issues when it comes to stuff like that. Some of them for me are just plain basic. Like a lot of people wouldn't complain. But, and don't get this wrong, I don't hate the game, but I like pointing out its flaws because I want the game to get better. Like, this is something which I hadn't noticed, and now I hadn't noticed until Tariff posted a video, and now I can't stop looking at it. The fucking boyars all have the demon gun.
Yeah, well, it's just a silly oversight, right? Like, it's a silly oversight.
Yeah.
That, not hard to fix. But, I mean, there are a number of little, like, minor nitpicks I have. Like, Greasus is kind of small. Like, he's really not big.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at him, if you were to, like, maybe I could ask Tariff to do this. If you were to stand up his model next to a regular ogre, it seems like he'd be practically the same size.
Yeah.
Which he shouldn't be. He should be much larger.
Yeah.
Like, he's the shockingly obese.
Yeah.
Like, where's my obesity, man? Where's my diabetes? But like, also like the Erskine, the bear mount for Zarboris, like slightly unique, but it's the exact same size and color of the vast majority of the other bears. That's very boring.
Yeah.
Like, he should be bigger. Katerin not getting her her sledge.
Yeah.
Boring.
It's strange.
And some of the decisions just don't make sense. Like Katerin getting insanely impressive, beautifully crafted, unique animations on foot. Why? Why would you do this?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have the Ice Witch animations or the Ice Maiden, completely 100% unique animations.
Yeah.
For a Lord on Foot, which is so... I don't understand what the logic was there.
They made her have like Silver Surfer animations when if you have her on foot, she's a sitting duck. A Bloodthirster will come in and destroy her within seconds. Like, you want to have her on a bear, or, a sled would be nice, but like even with just the bear, I see why the bear is so valuable now, but don't...
We'll still hate it.
Yeah.
Like, it still feels so Flanderized.
Yeah.
Like, putting the Ice Witches and Ice Maidens on bears, I still think was a massively horrible decision.
It's a weird thing, because when we learn about, obviously the law has changed for Kislev, but bear riders, we didn't have contingents of bear riders like that.
Well, it's an Urson thing, right? It's an Ursonite cult thing.
Yeah.
The Patriarch rides bears. Okay, that makes sense. They've got Ursonites with them. The Ice Witches are not religious.
Yeah.
They're secular. It's very specifically, like, for the vast majority of them, they're secular.
Yeah. So,
like, I can understand Katerin having kind of a thing for a bear. Like, I could see the argument, Katerin could have a bear mount as an option. Like, I could see that because of her dad.
Yeah.
But, like, the rest of them?
It's too much.
Nah.
It's too much. It is honestly too much. It's something which I feel a lot. I like, now I can start nitpicking with the game more, and it's like, well, everything's the same. We got cultists, but no unique mounts that are available.
I actually kind of like the cultists having boring mounts.
They should have unique mounts.
I don't know. I feel like they're like supposed to be like super basic bitch soldiers.
Yeah, but if they are being summoned by this greater demon, right?
You do. Okay, I'll rephrase. I would like to see them have like whatever like the most basic demonic mount is.
Yeah,
could be cool. Okay. Okay. So like, do I need like a corn guy? Well, I guess a Juggernaut is the smallest mount, weirdly. But like, a cultist on a Juggernaut, fine. Cultist on like a Palanquin of Nurgle, fine. Cultist on a Steed of Slanesh, fine. Cultist on a disc, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But like anything bigger than that,
No, but that would be cool. That would be fucking cool. And
I do think Chaos is an option though, because that armor is nice.
Yeah.
but I will say that like I'm not as worried about the Chaos stuff, because I feel like a lot of the Mortals of Chaos, like, we're probably waiting for a Warrior of Chaos overhaul that's going to address a lot of that. And they're just kind of like, I feel like most of the Mortal stuff is just sort of stand-in at the moment.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of issues in the game, and like I'm in the same boat with Nathan. I feel like I'm nitpicking. Like overall I'm having a ton of fun with the game. Like I'm literally just thinking about like, man, I kind of want to play a Scrag campaign or work on my Scrag campaign after this. However, there are some notable issues, but like most of the major issues, I think the races are fine. I wouldn't say any of them are particularly great, but they're fine. Like, and to me, it feels on par with the release of Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2. If you took me back in time to Warhammer 2, I would have said, it's got problems, but it's fine. Like, the races are fine. Like, they're kind of boring, but they're fine.
And I get that, but there's issues there with, like, say, for example, the campaign. If you're playing Cafe, you've got to deal with the usual bullshit of, like, Total War and all that. Then you've got to deal with the Realm of Chaos. Then you've got to deal with the factions, the Chaos factions spawning and attacking you constantly. I'm doing 3 different campaigns at the same time, basically. Same thing with Kislev. Kislev, you have to do the pseudo-civil war, because it's not really a civil war, and also do the rifts. So if you fuck off into the Realms of Chaos, Constantine, if you're playing as Catherine, is busy getting buddy-buddy with everyone else, getting all the patrons and all that type of shit. And it's like, one or the other, man. One or the other.
I do think the Realm of Chaos should be a toggle, to be honest.
It should.
I do agree with that. I also agree that I think a lot of that could honestly just be solved by turning off a player bias and just have like the AI focusing on its own crap and like smacking its own neighbors and stuff. It just, the player bias just doesn't make sense to me in the modern game. Like, I could see how it made sense maybe when there were like less factions or the map was smaller and other shit like that. But in Game 3 especially, it feels like such an unnecessary system. And it definitely exists. Like, I mean, I've seen the AI come from like hilariously far away and ignoring a lot of enemies just to come mess with the player. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, this feels dumb.
I mean, the best, well, not the best, but the worst way to experience player bias is when you start a campaign as the Demon Prince, because right from the beginning, you've got Nordland, the Laurel Elves, and some other factions just being a pain in your ass just at the very beginning. And it's like, well, this is not fucking fun. It's just dealing with everything whilst you're also fighting with Norskins and so on. It's like, this is turn 10, and I can't expand because I'm doing that, but then I've also got to get ready because in 20 turns, the first fucking roar is going to happen, and it's like, fuck me, man. It's a bit much.
Yeah. I mean, there are elements of that I really enjoy, but I also fully acknowledge that I am a player that has a much more like castle type of system. Like, I like to take a fairly small amount of territory and just build up and defend.
Yeah.
That's my play style generally. So it's much more favorable to someone that plays the game like I do.
Yeah.
Than people that tend to be like much more aggressive expansion. Like, I think that's why Legend hates it so much. Is that it is a brutally punishing system if you are an aggressive player.
But the thing is, this is why I agree with some of the stuff he said. I kind of want to play Total War. I don't want to do, like, I've done the story so many times. I can recite the fucking things constantly, and it's just, I just want to play Total War. This is why, like, this is why I'm not saying it's a bad game, because like, the factions are cool. Yes, they need to fix a few, because Slanesh is just abysmal at the moment, because, like, the chariots fucking suck.
I thought Slash was super OP when I played him, but maybe that's just me.
The chariots aren't doing proper damage. The chariots, like the mass system, is just not working for Slanesh at the moment. If you use other stuff, like for example, Soul Grinders and Keeper Secrets, obviously Heart Seekers are really fucking good, but like
yeah, the cavalry is very strong.
Yeah, but there's no reason to use the normal chariots, barring the exalted Seeker chariot, which that one works all right. But like, I don't think it's a bad game. I think the campaign is bad. I think the game is good. And yes, there's some issues which will hopefully get resolved, but I think like the game in general is good. A lot of people want Immortal Empires because they want to play. They just want to play. They don't want to think about a story. They don't have to think about saving some fucking Yogi Bear because he's managed to get trapped because, I don't know, Be'lakor activated his trap card or something. They just want to play. And I want to do that. Like, it gets to the point that when I'm playing Total War Warhammer 3 now, I've got that mod. I've played that story too many times. It's the same story. If we would have had much more different things, but in most cases, the cutscenes are the same, man. Cutscenes are the same.
Yeah, and I agree with certain parts of that. I don't agree with all of it. Like, personally, I am very glad they tried something different. It obviously it's not working for everyone. A lot of, everyone's different strokes for different folks and stuff. I very much like the story-driven campaign. I like it a lot. However, it feels unwise to have had the main campaign for the flagship Warhammer 3 have been this.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it would have been better to have a more traditional system and then the Realm of Chaos as an alternate campaign. I feel like it, because there is no traditional Total War campaign, it sticks out like a sore thumb in a bad way for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I really, really like it. I, if anything, prefer it. I like having a narrative that I'm pursuing. However, it's also like in a lot of ways weaker. It's weird. It's weaker than the Total War Warhammer 2 narratives, because in Total War Warhammer 2, you got like 4 to 5 unique cutscenes per faction, because every single time you completed something, you got a unique cutscene.
Yeah.
Granted, it wasn't like about your character; it was just about your faction. And in this game, you get your legendary lord gets a really big, cool cutscene at the beginning, and then it's just the same thing for all the Demon Prince souls. And then the ending cutscenes, in the vast majority of cases, feel like they're just not done. Like, they feel super weird. I have been very disappointed with the ending cutscenes to almost all the campaigns.
Horrible.
Because I saw Katarin's, which feels like it was actually finished.
Yeah.
And then I saw the rest of them, and they feel like they're not finished, and it's odd.
Yeah.
Like the only thing I can, literally the only thing I can assume is they ran out of time.
Well, that's the thing. But like, look, the reason why they probably did the big narrative is because they wanted to do a big thing. You know, they were planning for Game Pass and all that, and they wanted to appeal to a broader audience because narrative sells. Yes, narrative does sell. But
it's kind of a weak narrative, though.
Yeah.
Like, for that to be like the flagship,
yeah.
It's not a very good foundation stone, just because CA. I really like the narrative stuff they've put in this campaign, but especially in the Realm of Chaos campaign, while there is a narrative, it has to be, or at least they treat it like it has to be, insanely weak because they want it to still be a sandbox. Like, it's not that well structured, because it's like, oh, well, you have to be able to do it in whatever order you want and whatever, all this stuff. So like, there's not really, I don't know. I think if maybe it was like every time you beat a demon prince, you got to have like a unique cutscene about your character and beating them and having to react to it. if the end of the campaign, like Be'lakor just fucking vanishes.
Yeah.
I think it would have been way more interesting to have like a cutscene of your character like killing Be'lakor and how that goes down, and then have the Urson confrontation. I just don't know what happened there. But there are a lot of... The game has an insane, just truly insane amount of potential.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of good to it, but I fully agree that if it is, you play it and you're not hooked by the play style that is available, it's very suffocating.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I'm telling my review is if you buy the game, you have 2 hours to hop into a campaign. Doesn't matter who, just hop into a campaign, play around with it a little bit, and if you go, you know what, I really want to be able to just like expand, or I really want to be able to play this like Warhammer 2's Immortal Empires or a regular Total War game, this is not the game for you right now. I would refund it or just take a pass on it for right now. Come back, or just leave it in your library and come back once they've updated it a bit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're in that inevitable point where hilariously the worst part of every Total War game is release. Like every single one of them, they are at their absolute most garbage when they come out, and then they get steadily better and better and better and better and better.
But that's the problem, though, and I'm going to say this as a fan of Total War. It's exhausting when that happens. Like, there is no shame in delaying it. Delay it. If you have to delay it, delay it. Because people want to just play the game and have fun. And
there's no shame, but there are deadlines and people who don't give a crap that call those shots.
Oh, yeah.
There's it's not like CA's their own boss. They've got Sega to worry about and all this other crap.
Yeah. But, like, it's just that, like, they delayed it once. Could you imagine if the game would have released if they didn't delay it? Like, because, like, we don't know exactly what state that game was, but how long was the delay?
Garbage, presumably.
When did exactly? How long ago was the delay? Did they announce it in what?
They announced it in, like, September
or something? Yeah, something like that. So if they would have released it in 2021, holy crap, I can only imagine in what state that game was if it warranted a delay then, and it's still come out like this now. It must have been much worse. Now, this is not me talking down to CA. I'm actually very thankful that they delayed it. A lot of people got mad when they announced it, but I thought, well, if it warranted a delay, it's obviously there's a reason. But it's just a worry. It's just a worry. How long is this going to take to fix? Well,
I think that depends on what you define as a fix. Like, if you're asking how long is it going to be before I can play this game like a kind of like a Mortal Empire scenario where like I can disable the rifts and everything. If CA is willing to allow a turn off the rift system, you probably only have to wait like a month, 2 months.
We have that now with a mod and it works perfectly.
Well, great, but that's a mod, and we don't have a mod workshop right now. So for most people, that's like kind of a solution.
I get that. But my worry is, say for example, rather frustrating bugs like when you put when you get units in a group and you send them into when they're in a locked group, and their pathfinding just dies because they can't move around the minor settlements. That's something really frustrating because your units just start going around in circles like if they've had 8 shots of whiskey in one go.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of these games, unfortunately. Like, even at the end of Total War Warhammer 2, like, you can go boot it up right now. Game's got bugs.
Yeah, game's got
problems.
But then they announce, say, for example, there's no gate bug, but there is a gate bug. So, what happened? Did the patch just bring back that gate bug?
Could be.
But does that not get tested just to see, oh, look, this is coming back? This is what, like, is what's confusing to me. Again, I still think the game is good, but like, because I
bug,
think this...
bugs are such a complex topic, because like when you're dealing with like finding a bug, it's like you have to be able to have a bug that can be replicated very easily. Someone has to notice it and then like draw attention to it, and then there has to be some kind of fix made for it, which, like, at least in my experience with the game, like, and granted, this I could just be super stupid, I'm just saying my experience, I encountered one bug that I could repeat, and it's already been fixed, which was that when I would play a demon prince fight with ogres, the music would cut out until the demon prince spawned. That's already been fixed.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what the gate bug is. In that, like, I haven't had any problems with gates.
The gate bug is the same thing that we had in Warhammer 1 and 2, where you can have a hero basically stand at the gate and it just kills off the AI pathfinding for the enemies. It's a weird thing. I've had strange bugs where I went to do Greases' campaign. This was on a live stream. The match started fine, and then it threw me out of the game. I came back on. Everything was a black screen. You couldn't see shit all. Like, just very faint things, and it was just flashing and stuff, and it was like, what the hell is this? Like, my computer isn't bad. My computer is pretty good. I only got it, like, freaking at the end of 2020.
From what I heard, it's not the bad computers that are suffering, it's the good ones.
Yeah, but why is modern tech fucking suffering? Is it not, like, yeah, fine, yeah. It could be the case that they haven't been able to test with a lot of people and so on, and all the other, but it's just, it's strange, man, and it disheartens me to like make content sometimes and so on, because I love this series, but holy crap, there are problems. And you know, like they announced 1.1. This is the patch that they have planned after this, right? But there's no estimation and so on. And CA, a problem with CA is that they always super top secret, like you said. You know, they always have to be quiet about things. And I think what the community wants is just a little bit of transparency. It doesn't have to be access to a beta or whatever, but a little bit of transparency would be nice.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that, or I don't disagree with that. Like I would really love to get, even if it's not about DLC, I would love to get a roadmap as far as like, okay, like here's patch 1.0 and here's what we're focusing on with it. And then patch 1.1 is going to focus on this. And then maybe there's like a secret DLC after that and stuff. Like, I care much more right now about what the patch schedule is than I do about the new content schedule.
Yeah.
Just to get the game as stabilized as possible.
Yeah.
Because what's so weird about it, and like puts all of us, but me especially, I think in a weird position, is how unique a lot of the problems are to each specific person in their system. Like, because to reiterate, like, I don't have any problems in this game. Like, I don't have any bugs that I noticed. Like, and if I do have a bug, like, I literally just reload like a quick save and it's gone. Like, I have encountered bugs where I have tried to recreate them, because like I've tested for games in the past, so like I've repeated the exact same thing I did and it worked fine, and it's like, oh, okay, it moved on. And it's so weird that the game is like vastly different experience for different players.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, one thing I want to iterate to anyone that's like listening or watching is like, try not to like, when you're discussing the game and stuff, like, everyone's having a very different experience. So, you know, when you're discussing it, keep in mind that like the Warhammer 3 you're playing could be totally different from the Warhammer 3 they're playing. So, like, if you meet someone that seems really, really frustrated with the game and you're like, why is this person so frustrated? They're overreacting. Well, maybe from their perspective, they're not.
Yeah.
Because maybe from their perspective, the game is literally unplayable. But like, I mean, I would really recommend for people that unless you're just a diehard Total War Warhammer fan, like you're like a huge fan of one of the races that's in the game, or you just catch every release and all that stuff, I honestly would skip this game for right now, and just like keep playing Total War Warhammer 2, or go play one of the like billion other games that came out this month, and maybe come back in 1 or 2 months, because it's gonna take time.
Yeah.
It sucks, and like that's just the unavoidable truth. It's gonna take time.
Yeah.
Which I know there are a lot of people that don't want to hear that. You know, like I've seen the posts on Reddit. I've seen stuff of people being like, "Oh, there's only 10K people playing this close after release. Like, is the game gonna like crash and burn and die and stuff?" I don't think that's honestly a worry for this game. Because this is one of those games that when they drop a big content update and it's like, oh, things are fixed and there's a new DLC, people come back like in droves.
The problem is that it had a much and this is why I know people are worried, right? And I sympathize with why they're worried. The drop was massive because day one was great, right? Like 160 something thousand people just on Steam. That's massive. That's massive launch. And I think like Andy Hall said it was through the services in China, it was like 3 million people in one day and something. Like, holy crap, those are some big numbers. And then it's just like down, right? And it is a massive down. And people are going, oh yeah, it's because Dying Light released around that time. Elden Ring released around that time. It's like, yes, they could be factors. They could be factors too.
I would go so far as to say they are notable factors, but they might not be the only factor, yes.
Yeah. And it's impossible to just say that's the only factor. There are very notable issues with the game. There are it all kind of joins up. The drop to me was kind of scary. The drop to some other content creators that I've spoken to is kind of scary because we notice it when we talk about stuff. And like there was one thing which I didn't like when CA said about like when I think it was one of their more recent blogs. It's like, oh yeah, we'll talk about Immortal Empires and DLC soon, blah blah blah, right? It's like no. Talk about how you're going to fix the game first, because I don't want a DLC just yet. And a lot of people are going, oh yeah, Immortal Empires will fix it. It's like, Immortal Empires will not fix the issues. Immortal Empires needs to come with the issues fixed. You know what I mean?
Well, I disagree only because I don't agree with this philosophy. I just know it's their philosophy, which is that when it comes to CA, they seem to ride or die by the idea that patches should come with content. Unless it's like an itty bitty patch. It always comes like tied to some major piece of DLC. And that's just the way they do things, which is frustrating, especially for the multiplayer community who want way more consistent patches. And I don't think that's gonna change. I think like they've already announced that they're working on a patch 1.1, which they've noted is gonna change a lot about the Chaos Realms, the negative traits you get from the Chaos Realms, the rewards you get from the Chaos Realms, rift management, balance tweaks, bug fixes, including the supply line bug. Like they're already talking about it, and I am kind of expecting it to come with a piece of content because that's just how they do things. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it would be much better if they just patched as they had time. But clearly they kind of seem to have this almost evolving system where the same time they're working on fixes, they're working on putting new stuff in as they're fixing. But it's kind of a lose-lose in the sense that, like, let's say they did dedicate a whole patch to just purely fixing stuff and there was no new content. So like we get like a month's worth of work, no new content to show for it. It's just fixes. And then the next month they drop a DLC. I just think it's just painfully inevitable that DLC is going to introduce some weird shit that's going to cause unexpected bugs, because it's just how game design seems to work, is that they put something into the game and they from what they can tell, there is absolutely no reason that it should cause like some random chariot in the game to turn invisible, but it does. It just causes a weird issue. So I think because of the nature of the game, it just doesn't make, unfortunately, it doesn't work for them to focus purely on patching. Like it's just this inevitable tie-in of it's gonna have stuff with it. So in that sense, new DLC will fix the game. Immortal Empires will fix the game because that's where the fixes are gonna be.
Fair. But let's say, okay, we're a month in, okay? By now we already have a DLC. It's usually Blood. So would that not warrant a patch? Where is Blood? Obviously they've probably delayed it because now everything's going tits up and all that. But you know what I mean? It's a month in.
Oh yeah, I would love to know where Blood is. But I think the most important thing we can do as people who just like the game and are trying to hold on to our mental sanity while everything else in the world that's going on right now is going on is just to have I don't want to say patience because I think that's just a stupid way to put it, but to have realistic expectations and to worry about the things that we can control.
Oh no, yeah, we can't control it. Yes, that's fine. The only problem is, like, unless I'm playing with that mod, I just don't want to fire up the game. There's also some other issues. Have you seen? There's a specific map in Cafe, a battle map, where if your chariot's right over it, they fly for a little bit and then, boom, dead.
I've heard about it, and I'm gonna be honest. That's one of those bugs that I think is more hilarious than anything else. Like, just because it's so niche, it's just I have not seen it myself, but I have heard about those legends.
Yeah.
To me, that makes me giggle more than anything. Like that's just stupid. I don't because apparently there's some gravity system regarding damage. Which is just, I'm sorry, I just find that silly. Like, to me, that's almost a delightful bug more than like a really problematic one.
It's delightful until you have a character who's not just immortal yet. You're playing legendary. The character dies, and either you're forced to kind of save scum or just power through.
Hey, I get that. Like, I've literally played streams in the past where I had a bug where like my vampire lord on a zombie dragon landed on a wall and he just literally clipped through the wall and died instantly. And like it sucks, but like
my
it just is what it is, man. It just is what it is.
My main fear is mainly because, like, say for example, there's some stuff coming into effect. Like there's been a lot of data mining and so on, right? And one thing with the data mining is
a little too much data mining if you ask me, but
yeah, well, that's their fault for leaving files in there, I guess. But when you go into those files, some of the factions and all that are balanced to pre-patches and pre-reworks and so on. So that kind of worries me. It's like, oh, are they going to have to just like rebalance everything? Does that mean that we might not have the potion of speed working for Immortal Empires? That's what worries me, you know? Like what's happening?
I mean, I understand the worry, but the only thing I can say to that is it's just not worth worrying about. Like this we don't know. Like we don't know, we can't know.
Yeah.
Until it happens. And I just don't think it's worth it. I just don't think it's worth the worry.
Yeah, but like it's still a genuine worry. And I'm not talking about it just as a content creator, because obviously, like, I'll be honest, as a content creator, it kind of kills the mood for me to talk about Warhammer and be really excited about Warhammer, because it's like, holy shit, man, what's going on? But as a fan, I'm like, well, this would be something I would have paid, what, 60 quid for? So I know people have paid 60 quid for that. It's like, well, you paid for a beta, in a sense, you know?
I understand your frustration. I don't agree with the sentiment, I guess, but I understand. I am empathetic to it.
Yeah. Now, I still have stuff to be excited about because obviously, like, for example, yesterday I talked about Southern Chaos Waste because that's exciting for me. And it's like, oh, you know, that's on the map. So maybe we could see Beast Fiends. You know, that's something really, really cool. It's far in the future if that ever happens because, like, I don't imagine, like, we'll get another DLC for Beastmen in all honesty, but you never know, right?
Yeah.
So there's still some things to be excited about, but it's like, well, I just want to see some things being fixed. It's like, no, right now.
I will say that I 100% deeply, like, not bullshitting anybody, I 100% deeply believe everything's going to be fine. Just because to me, it's just Warhammer 2 all over again. It's a different issue, but it's the same damn song and dance we've been through before.
Yeah,
and
no, I get that.
It in the moment, it sucks. I totally get it. No complaints, you know, no argument here. But it's just, we just gotta wait it out. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sucks,
I
but
get
that's literally all we could do.
I get that, but look, from my perspective of playing so many Total Wars, I love Total War, right? I love Total War because it's I don't have to, like, I can just chill to play Total War. Day one issues like this shouldn't be happening, but it happens with every Total War. It happened with Troy, it happened with Three Kingdoms, it happened with Warhammer 2. It's like, you guys are a big company, right? And I love and respect CA because they're a big company. They do really cool stuff. They do stuff I want to play. But, like, it's like you see that that worry coming in because why is this happening? Why is this happening? Well, if we get like another historical next year or whatever, right? Is that going to have the same day one issues? Is that going to have new day one issues that are just going to make
I bet on
fun?
it. To be honest, I'd bet on it. Yeah.
That's what worries me. That's what worries me because I love the game. I still think the game is good. This is the thing, right? For me, I think the game is good. It just needs to remove the bugs and have it like a toggle or bring out Immortal Empires ASAP. I don't think we're going to get that. Like, I don't think it's going to happen soon because, well, we still don't have blood yet. But, you know, like, I just want the game to be good. I just want to enjoy myself. I want my friends, I want my viewers to enjoy themselves because I want to talk about Warhammer. Talking about Warhammer is fucking cool, man. But it is weird. It's in a weird, everything is in a weird place.
Yeah, well, you know, I cannot express enough that it's totally valid to look at the game and just go, really not feeling this? I don't like where it's at right now. Let me go do other shit for a while. And hopefully, you know, it'll get fixed or it'll get cleaned up to an acceptable level sooner rather than later. That's something everyone's going to have to go through. Like, I'm at a point where I look at the game and I go, this is great. I like playing this. I'm going to keep playing it. But there's going to be quite a few people out there, tons of people who are going to look at it and go, not yet.
Yeah. No, I get that, right? I still think, like, I still have hope, right? Unless everything happens, but, like, I get worried. And this is nothing against CA. I know people at CA. I talk to people at CA. They're lovely people, right? But
No, they're terrible people. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I now have that paranoid feeling ever since that fucking The Future of Three Kingdoms came out. Ever since that video, now I get worried.
I would only worry about that if Warhammer 3 is still like this in like a full year. I give it a full year. If we're still here a year from now, okay, yeah, I think that's a legitimate fear. But until then, nah.
I still have that feeling though. I still worry because that came out of the fucking blue. Last thing we had for Three Kingdoms was a pretty good DLC in all honesty. Like, South's mechanics were fucking great. You know, they did say there is new stuff coming. They did say there was going to be another DLC and that was going to be like an expansion style DLC. And the next thing we know, oh look, it's dead. It's like...
Yeah, but to be fair, that's the only time that's ever happened.
But if it happens once, it can happen again. Lightning does strike twice.
Well, yeah, but like you're playing a dangerous game of what ifs.
No.
Like,
I know. And I shouldn't. I'm just saying there's always a possibility. And that's what worries me. Because I want this game to do well, man. I want to see this get massive, and I want to see loads of people playing it to the point that they'll just keep milking for DLC, because I want to see all the characters I played on the tabletop in the game. I'd love to see fucking Warriors of Chaos get reworked, and Norska not being a joke, and, you know, you never know, maybe Ind and Kuresh. That would be fucking cool. But I just want to see that type of stuff. And
so I'll say this because I think we're just kind of talking in circles at this point. So I'll say this, and then I think we're we're good to go on to the last segment. But to try and like get everyone, I think, on a page of what we know is going to happen, right? What we know for a fact is going to happen is that Creative Assembly is going to keep releasing content for this game for at least the next calendar year. They've announced plans for much longer than that, but, you know, obviously the game's a little rough right now. We know we're going to get a blood pack, which is going to make the game feel a lot better. We know we're going to get fixes. We know we're going to get some kind of... We know Chaos Dwarfs are somewhere on the horizon, which will be very exciting. We know there's going to be whatever kind of weird-ass DLC we're going to get, and Immortal Empires, which, of course, be a huge deal.
yeah.
But some important things to remember, I think, are outside forces that will also be bringing things to the game. The game is on Game Pass. It's going to stay on Game Pass. That's a good way for people to try out the game. And hype's going to build up every time something drops. Every time a DLC drops, there's going to be hype. It's just the way it goes. And the other thing we have to remember is that this game's release, in a way, kind of was almost a beta. Because I think, honestly, one of the biggest driving forces for this game is going to be the release of Warhammer the Old World. And when Warhammer the Old World drops, that is going to bring a fuck ton of attention back to this game. And a fuck ton of people are probably going to go, oh my god, like I can play this on tabletop now. And then they're going to look at the tabletop prices and go, never mind, I'm just going to play the video game. But like, I think that's going to be a huge moment for us. And I am much more interested in seeing where we're at when Warhammer the Old World comes out, hopefully sometime later this year or next year, than I am in anything else at the moment. I think that's the big moment to be focused on right now.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I have faith in CA. Like we go Warhammer 2. Warhammer 2 was horrible in release and it got better. But like, I just don't... shouldn't be happening again. Let's hope that like all the rumors...
It already has, so that's just nothing we can do about that.
I know. But then I think about like future Total War titles. That's what gets me.
That's not our problem. It's not our problem.
It is though.
Nope, not our problem.
It is.
That is future us's problem, not
but
ours.
It's still us. Say for example, if they do a Total War 40k, they have that issue.
Well, okay, now you're just talking to the bad audience because I just don't care. I'm at Total War Warhammer 3. Wherever this ends, that's where I end. That's my bubble.
I just want everything to work. I have faith in CA. You know, they must be working hard. They must be doing that. It's just, it was a little disappointing. That's all I want to say.
All right, that's fair. But I think we've beaten that horse well and truly to death. So, we do actually have one last segment because we wanted to end, because we knew that was going to be a bit of a heavy topic. So we want to end on a fun topic, which is that something I thought could be fun is that me and Nathan are adding a new segment to the show, which is basically I'm basically just calling it like the fluff segment or the lore thought segment. But basically, we're going to pick an idea or a concept or a theme or something from Warhammer Fantasy, and me and Nathan are going to talk about our favorite of whatever that thing is. And we would love to hear from y'all on Twitter using the hashtag Lorebeards to A, post your models, but B, feel free to suggest ideas of things you'd like to see us talk about. But because of the Up in Arms book, we thought it'd be cool for me and Nathan to talk about our favorite knightly orders. So we're gonna start with Nathan. Nathan, who is your favorite knightly order? And tell us some drop some lore knowledge on us.
So, there's a few that I quite like, but I think one of my favorites are the Knights in Carmine. They are a knightly order that originate from Talia. Very different to what most of us have seen, because obviously if you look at the knightly orders in Warhammer 2 and so on, they've got like lancers and spears and shields. Knights in Carmine think that that shields are for pussies. It's literally dual wielding. If I'm gonna block, I'm gonna block with my swords, and I think that's cool, man.
Oh, they're dual wielding knights. That's actually pretty unusual. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like you had to. I think you had to kit bash them quite heavily if you wanted to make them, because I don't think the knight kit actually had for dual wields.
Yeah, it wasn't an option. Yeah, so they must have had a special. So you say they originate for Tyrion. Were they a Dog of War unit?
They are counted as a knightly order of the Empire. Presumably they've long moved. It's been a while since I've read through their lore, in all honesty. But what I always liked about them is like, oh, these were different. It was different weapon choices. It was just, these guys are just badasses that go in right into battle with two fucking blades. You know, you just think of one of those like, it's edgy but it's cool, right?
Oh yeah.
And they had this really cool paint scheme too. It was usually the horses were black armored, but the knights were really vibrant red. Like you could see them coming at you from a mile away. And I thought that was fucking awesome, you know?
Oh yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. That is a good knightly order. That's actually such a rare thing too. Dual wielding on horses in fantasy was super rare because it was always like, oh, you got to hold on with something, which is what made Savage Orcs such a big deal, because Savage Orc War Boys were one of, I think, the only units in tabletop that were mounted dual wielders. The vast majority in tabletop could not do that. So that's a very, very cool niche. For me, I've got to go with I believe it's the Raven Knights, or Knights of the Raven, which are one of the Morite orders. Because although there are many secular, I actually believe the vast majority of knightly orders are secular. There are a number of religious ones.
Yeah.
The Knights of the Blazing Sun are probably the most famous example. Also, like the White Wolves of Ulrich.
Yeah.
Or those are the two big ones. But the Knights of the Raven are Morite, which Mor is the god of death and the god of dreams and all that other stuff. And I adore Mor.
Yeah.
I like Mor. There we go. And because the thing about his knights is they're super anti-undead. But because they have to deal with so much just like magic bullshit and endless legions of zombies and skeletons and all that stuff, which honestly are a pretty hard counter to knights in a lot of situations. Like the thing about the undead is you're dealing with like massive hordes, where just going in on a big charge is probably a bad idea, because you're basically just slamming into chaff that don't feel anything and they're not afraid. So they're not going to give, like, you'll smash through some bodies, but then you're surrounded by undead and they just start, tearing you off your horses and stabbing you to death and stuff. So the Knights of Mor in many ways have adapted to counter the undead by learning unique methods of fighting. And the Knights of the Raven are the much more aggressive of the Morite orders, the other being I believe it's the Black Guard, who are more defensive. They're more like they hang out, and if they hear about necromancy and stuff, they go out to deal with it. But the Knights of the Raven are very aggressive. Like they are constantly going out and searching for information about the undead, and they have this whole tenet where if they see an undead, it is one of their vows that they have to destroy it. No matter like if they're ready for that or not.
Yeah.
And the other thing I love about them is they're based in Sylvania. Their main headquarters are in Essen, which you may recognize if you've played Total War Warhammer, as one of the minor cities in the Eastern Sylvanian province. And another, I think it's Sieghoft or Sieghord, which is another minor city. But the thing that's really, really cool about them is they fight dirty. They are dirty fighting knights.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, they wear this full scary black armor and they're very imposing looking and they've got shields and lances and stuff, but they use crossbows, which I absolutely love. They are knights that are huge on shooting weapons. So they are actually some of the deadliest crossbow marksmen in the Empire because they're so carefully trained in it. And the reason they are so focused on that is because they know that when you're dealing with a vampire, or especially necromancers, often the best way to murder them is from a distance. And so they just have this great system of, they're super spooky looking. They wear black armor covered with like skulls and all this other nightmarish imagery. And then they come charging into the battlefield with the typical weapons. But then they also use like these really, what other knightly orders would think of like as cheating or not chivalrous or whatever. They use like weapons that most knights would be like, "Argh." And I love it. Like the idea of some necromancer or something trying to cast spells and he's just like, bitch, and just murks them from a distance. It's great.
Like the
great.
scene from it's like Indiana Jones, isn't it?
Yeah. Some undead's like showing off and he's just like, just shoots him in the face. They're an awesome knightly order. They're most notable from the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay.
Yeah.
But there are of course a lot of really great knightly orders. Which cool thing to end the note on. If you are someone that heard me and Nathan talking about Up in Arms earlier and you went, man, that sounds really cool, I would love to read that. It is officially out.
Already?
Right now. Yep, I literally bought it while we were talking earlier.
Oh, cool.
And it has, oops, ignore that. It has, oh my god, where did I do with it? I think I closed it. But it doesn't have anything on Nostalgia. It is Talea, the history of Talea. In addition to knights, how to fight on horseback and stuff. But it's got a whole... So we know, and we've talked about this many times, Cubicle 7 is an excellent predictor of what you will see in Total War Warhammer. It is not a coincidence. When Cubicle 7 does something, pay attention. Yeah. Because it might show up in Total War Warhammer. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's likely it'll show up in Total War Warhammer. So what is an entire section dedicated to? Knights of the Blazing Sun, the Knights Panther, and the White Wolves of Ulrich. Which we all know, one of the most requested updates for the Empire would be to give us the Knights Panther. The Knights Panther. I think I said that. But the Knights Panther and the White Wolves of Ulrich. Give them to us. Give me my Mindenheim DLC. And give me my Knights Panther as like a free LC update. Because those are the three big uns.
Yeah.
Like if you're ever talking about the Empire and you're talking about knightly orders, those three, they are the kings of the knightly orders.
Yeah.
It's fucking tawny. So I'm going to be reading through that as I get lunch after the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
If anyone in chat has kind of a last second question, we can pick that up. But Nathan, any kind of closing thought? Well, let's do this the right way. Anything coming up on your schedule before next Sunday?
No idea. Well, I've started streaming on Twitch recently, so that's been kind of fun. Been playing Dying Light.
Twitch.tv/
Great Book of Grudges. The Great Book of Grudges.
Okay, is it Great Book of Grudges or The Great Book of Grudges?
The Great Book of Grudges. Wait, let me
let
me confirm, because like I'm still very new to that world and it's confusing, and I'm very, very much like trying to figure out The Great Book of Grudges. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just got a alert. I don't know what the hell that was.
Make sure to go follow Nathan. www.twitch.tv/ The Great Book of Grudges.
Yeah. I think I'm either getting follows. Let me just mute the alert box. Oh my god, that was loud. Right. Sorry.
Oh, dude, you gotta mute your alerts. Trust me, you're gonna kill yourself otherwise during podcasts.
It is deafening. It is absolutely deafening.
Are you using Streamlabs?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how to edit the volume.
You can edit the volume?
Yeah. yeah. That's funny.
Right. I'll figure that out. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And just a quick note.
What have you been streaming?
Dying Light 2. I've been playing some zombie stuff just to give me a panic attack and all that.
You having fun?
Yeah, it's really it's really fun, man. I like it's got really sad quests which have been playing with my heartstrings. There's just one that almost made me cry, legitimately almost made me cry. But like it is pretty good. It's pretty good. Other than that, I've been watching a few games because my community has been doing a little take on Warhammer Crusade, but making it for Warhammer Fantasy, and that's been really interesting to watch. So
we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty cool. Yeah,
when is the next Lorebeards? This upcoming Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah.
Which may be weird for everyone because of time zones or because of daylight savings. But we'll figure that out. Anyway, and then on my side of things, if you're not already, make sure to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/LoreMasterofSotek. I've been hinting at something that's going to be releasing on my YouTube channel on Twitter. See if you can figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a project I'm really, really excited about. And hopefully, it definitely will not be out before next Lorebeards, but is working on it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much everything, I think. I'm streaming a lot, especially because I'm no longer reading like every damn day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's everything. You got anything? Closing thoughts?
No. Are you going to carry on streaming now, or are you going to stop? Because I need to talk to you about a few things.
I am going to do a raid and then stop.
Okay.
So thanks everyone so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Have a great one. Sorry about that. It's just like kind of busy. Something kind of important. See you guys. Have a great one.